Well, I'm joined on the beach at the Malvern show for Silver Surfers. We're talking to Jon Wheatley. And Jon, we've known each other on and off at shows for many years. And you have been one of the sort of, well, dare I say it, one of the grandees of the horticultural circuit.
Well, my life's been involved with horticulture. Most people can see that I'm probably an aged person now. But having said that, I'm certainly young at heart and really passionate about gardening and horticulture.
Well, you've loved it. And you, a lot of people won't realise that you've done pretty well everything. And you're very well known for, well, perhaps not for visually until people see these fabulous vegetable plants at Chelsea and Hampton Court and Malvern and other shows.
Well, that's a more recent innovation from our perspective. My friend Terry Porter, who's probably one of the best growers of anything in the UK,
yes.
Bear in mind he's been president of the National Chrysanthemum Society, winner of that, and he's also won Dahlia Championships, won the national championship in dahlias, which is my first love. And Terry grows these most magnificent vegetables, which are a great wow. And we've changed, we think, the whole perception of vegetables. We use vegetables in with tropical plants such as this now. And the great thing about veg is you can eat it as well. So yeah, we've loved doing it. And we're doing a very special one next week. We're building it now at Hampton Court Flower Show.
Yep.
And we're doing a new dig garden with Charles Dowding. Yeah,
yes.
And Stephanie Hafty. Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Well, it's interesting. I was just looking at the videos of my staff who are operating there under strictest of COVID restrictions, and they were being quite creative in the way they were watering the new hedge in, which we've got in. But we love horticulture. We love shows. It gets me into all sorts of trouble with my family, who think I should give it up. But, well, I'm not intending to give it up now. The next result, do you know, we did Chelsea 10 years on the trot with chrysanthemums. We got 10 gold medals, and we did the same exhibit, exactly the same, for 10 years.
Wow.
And we thought, right, we're not going to have this anymore. So ever since that, I decided any major exhibition, we do something different every time. And we do that, and we do ring the changes.
Yeah. Well, it's so important. Obviously, it gets a bit stale, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and I'm quite passionate about the industry.
Yeah.
I really get frustrated when people say go into horticulture if you're no good at anything else. But if you look around
blood boils.
This show, yeah, and I have to say, I think our age group, my age group, we have a responsibility to engage and actually promote the values of gardening. Mm-hmm. Lockdown has really opened my eyes. I've created a garden at home, which I'm really proud of. Like anything, we run quite a big business in the North Somerset area. We do all sorts of civic stuff in cities like Bath and Bristol and Plymouth. And I'm beginning to see now much more interest from a different age group and an appreciation of trees, flowers, biodiversity and plants. And I've been the other way. I've used all the chemicals.
Me too, when I was a garden centre manager.
But I think now we've got to think about the future.
Yeah, very much so.
And above all, investing in the future by engaging.
With the little ones.
Well, you look at people
any youngsters.
We've got a young woman in the valley that I live in, which is beautiful Chew Valley in North Somerset.
Yeah.
And she's concentrated on birds. A great friend of an associate of the Swedish young woman, Greta Thunberg, is it?
Oh yes, yeah, Thunberg,
and quite honestly, it's sad that young people like that are having to tell us to actually get our finger out and change. Yeah. And we do have a responsibility. That's the serious bit, but gardening is great fun. You meet some lovely people.
Oh, it's a fabulous industry to be in. You know, I said earlier, I've done 40 years since I was at college at Hadlow, and I still keep learning. You never stop learning this trade, do you, Jon?
You never stop learning, and if you're clever about it, you see something different every day. I remember my mother, who influenced me quite a lot. She said, try and develop a seeing eye. Just look that little bit more detailed into things. I was looking at my little grandson the other day, and he found a spider's nest. And if that's what it's called, I don't even know. I'm not that a spider person, but he was intrigued by actually sitting down and watching all these mini spiders. Now, in the past, we'd have just killed them off.
Yeah.
And that's got to change. That's got to go.
I was just going to say, you were having a natter with Carol. Sorry, Paul, can we carry on? Carry on. Yeah. You were having a natter with Carol Klein.
Yeah.
And we were talking about a wildflower area. And you've had this wildflower field for how many years?
Well, we've owned it for about 25 years, but I've known it for my whole life, which is 70 plus years. Now you can see, but I know the history of that field. It's never had any artificial put on it. It's only had one hay crop a year. And we've got, at the moment, it's absolutely full of buttercups.
Yeah.
But what's coming through now are the moon daisies.
Yes.
And we've got lots of yellow rattle in it, and then nautier will follow, and then the
knapweeds and all the rest of it.
Knapweeds coming through, and ajuga,
yes.
all sorts of interesting things. And then the wetter bit down the bottom, this is an interesting
Orchids.
point. We haven't got any orchids, but we've got a lot of sedges.
Right.
Now, you probably are aware, and if people aren't, this is really topical. We've been asked to help Balsam Aegis with plant production for the cop garden that is going into the Chelsea Autumn Show. Really worth looking at. If you know about the government cop conference up in Glasgow at the end of the year. And we're trying to demonstrate and using some of those plants in that. So it's really bringing common sense back to the public if we can, and actually using our natural biodiverse habitats. When I was a Wisley student in the 60s, late 60s, I studied the British flora. And I would say to lots of people, particularly at garden shows, we've got some lovely plants. We're looking over there at some fantastic xanthodiecias and heleniums and some lovely acers. But our flora is magnificent.
It is.
You've got to get on your knees occasionally to see it.
And make them wet.
Yeah.
Or lie on your tummy.
Yeah. But occasionally, we do need to start thinking about the flora and fauna as well. We're very privileged in living in a beautiful habitat on the edge of a moor. And we've got a stream going through our property, and to actually see the deer, the foxes, they're all in balance. We've got badgers on the property, and really we are very, very fortunate. But I'd love in my sort of closing years to bring that much more to the fore and to the public.
Yeah.
And I think this is a real opportunity talking to you to raise awareness on these areas.
And it's something I've grown up with all my life. I love being outside and in amongst the bugs, beasties, and looking at the minutiae, even just moss or lichens and little things, and then just watching the little bugs and beasts. A couple of days ago, I was looking up in a yew tree, and there were hundreds and hundreds of little beetles. I thought they were ladybirds, and they were mating in the top of this tree.
Yeah.
And it was very sunny and warm, and I thought, well, what are they? And we were trying to catch them, and they were little brown beetles, about yay big, very shiny.
Yeah.
I've still got no idea. I've got a photograph of them, but I haven't had a chance to look them up yet. And then the iridescence of the rosemary beetle.
Yeah.
Well, that bluey green that's like, wow,
Yeah, I think it's about keeping these things in balance, and the more we can become diverse and get a whole range of balance between the mammals, the birds, the reptiles and everything, then you will get that balance, and you'll reduce the infestations, which we do get. Think of lily beetle, which can still be a problem.
Yes.
And Solomon saw fly.
Yep.
Yeah, and things like that. Solomon seal, sawfly.
Yes, I know.
Yes. And that.
But we can use grazers on the red lily beetle.
Yeah.
Which is a calcium-based spray, which just makes them taste horrible to them.
Yeah.
And the beetles go off elsewhere.
Well, we've got to get away from many of the pesticides that we use, and that, it's got its purpose in some respects, but we've got to move away from those sort of things for the future. I would love to see a return, and I probably might upset the odd careers tutor by saying what I'm now going to say, but if I ever hear anybody say, don't go into horticulture because you're too bright for it, as was said to me, I would actually take them seriously to task. I think the future is great, and you probably are aware of my work with the RHS and my council involvement. And what we're doing now is looking very seriously at, as a charity, at community outreach. And the more we can take basic gardening skills, horticulture. The other great thing about it is I was given the opportunity about 8 years ago to start judging, and I'm now chairman of judges in a thing called the Windlesham Trophy. Lord Windlesham came up with this trophy for prisons, about prison gardening. When I first got involved, I thought, well, do I need to do this? Because I've never been in a prison, luckily, and I'd never seen how it works. But in the last 7 or so years, I've seen some of the best horticulture you will see by people that are
in prison,
being punished offenders. In other words, they're doing their time and they're actually doing gardening work. And I've seen transformation in people's lives. And I was speaking to some of the prisoners over the years, because I occasionally go back to the same place twice. And I've asked them what benefits they've got out of working in gardening, and they've very often referred to the well-being aspects, the health aspects, but above all the mental aspects of perhaps I might not have, and I'm sceptical about this, but perhaps I might not have been here had I got involved in something a bit more meaningful as a career.
Yes.
I still think there's an issue about payment and values. You can always get some. One of the dangers of our system is that anybody inverted commas can garden.
Turn up with a white van and a mower, and call themselves a gardener.
Yeah, and anybody can actually go in at silly prices per hour just to make money. But I would say that probably you get what you pay for in these things, and perhaps we need to make some serious changes. I'm a great believer that people are better than they were and civilization is improving. Not everybody would agree with me, but I think you only got to look at the media and see all the things that are taking place. But the one thing that I have learned over this last 18 months to 2 years, this lockdown thing, is that gardening is so essential to the soul of people and to the character and the quality of life in the United Kingdom.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't have put it more succinctly. John, as usual, always a pleasure to catch up with you, and thank you for your words of wisdom. And I will see you at Hampton Court Flower Show in a few weeks' time.
Really look forward to it. Thank you.
John, thank you. Cheers.